Welcome back to Made Up of Wires. We're decompiling Castlevania Symphony of the Night. You can go to soten.z.dev to learn more. I don't have much time, so we're going to get right into it. Soten.z.dev will give you all the resources you need if you are interested in learning more about the project. So we're working on the Grant Sifa Ralph boss fight, and very early stream, yes, and a quick stream, hopefully. Good to have you roaming. I was working on deduping everything in that boss. I ran into some issues with a few of them. Some of them are just symbol mapping, but I wanted to go through debugging, mapping duplicates, and how it's done. So entity breakable, or e-breakable, this is not unbreakable, but unknown breakable. This file has unique data for most stages. And so if we look at NZ0, for example, put the breakable there, it's going to have a bunch of data that's unique. And even the function itself can be unique per stage. So it's a little different than a lot of the things that we normally consider duplicates. So there's a couple things that you have to worry about. The data, which is at the top, and you have to worry about the function itself and getting both of those right. So let's look at the data first and see if we can figure out what's going on there. I'm going to look at the reverse catacombs version of e-breakable, because that is where where this boss fight takes place. It's just using the one from the catacombs, which is interesting. And let's look at that one. Including a C file, usually this isn't what... Oh no, it is including an H file. So some small changes here. All the animations are named, which is nice. We don't have those symbol names though, so it's not necessarily going to help us. Actually, the symbols are named up above, which is good. So the hard part about this is we have to do this as a one-shot. We have to map all of the addresses for the symbols as well. So I'm going to take a flyer and guess that we can use this version. Give me 1 second to make sure that this is actually the right stage that this boss fight takes place, and I'm pretty sure, yeah, it is. So let's first set the inverted stage flag on the RBOO header. And then mostly we need to make sure that we have some of these globals, and I think we have them all. So I'm going to open up the splat config. And we're going to see if this works. So I'm going to set data to .data for e-breakable, which says we're going to get it from the C file. And we're going to include... we could do a few checks beforehand, but I'm going to let caution lie. So we're going to take the ARE breakable.h. Let's see how that works. Be exciting if it did work. I don't know. Not pre-planned. So we have an undefined reference to ent unknown breakable. And that's because this symbol was not named like they like what is named here. Okay, so there's actually a couple things going on. There's two breakable functions in here: breakable debris and breakable, which we don't have in our version of breakable. So this is not going to be the same, which is unfortunate. The data may or may not be the same. Getting the data correct is a little more difficult, and not as desirable. Let's look at this data compared to what's in ARE. We're going to look at the assembly, STARE data, breakable, and we're going to look at boss RBO0 data, breakable. And our data doesn't even look the same, so it's not. Wasn't a good match. I could have probably started there and come to the same conclusion much earlier. So that's a bummer. The other option we have is to look at one of the bosses. So like RBO 3 is done. We can look at the breakable. And that isn't mapped. RBO 5 breakable. That isn't mapped either. So we don't have any other reverse bosses that have their data mapped. Mostly I'm being lazy and don't want to repeat the work. So if we look at BO4, which is Doppelganger, this data looks identical so far. So we have a few more zeros. That's probably padding in BO4, but otherwise the data is the same. Let's look at that one. So we have our data laid out. And I did try this earlier. If I use this as is, this will not match. I have not looked. Oh, actually, it's a relatively easy problem. In entity updates, we need a reference to init breakable. So let's add our reference. And to get this reference, we need to figure out where, how to determine what address the symbol would be at. And so the way I usually do that, I'll look in this file. It's not here. It's going to be in the breakable header. And it's the arg2 initialize entity for the entity breakable function. That's pretty easy. So let's open that. The other thing that we're going to have to deal with is that this was called unknown breakable, and we want a function called entity breakable. We want boss RBOO non-matching is breakable, and we're looking for the arg path to initialize entity, which is this one here. And so that's one step along the way. we're probably going to actually it'll matter slightly. I am going to change the symbol for this to call this entity breakable instead of unknown breakable. Sorry, flipping around. I don't know where the unknown came from. And that is a match. So it looked like just some symbol mapping, and possibly the boss breakables are slightly different. So I'm going to add these. I don't need the inverted stage definition. So now what I want to do is hopefully get this mapped on the PSP as well. I'm hoping to get all of the duplicate stuff mapped as early as possible. We don't have data yet for this, so we need to go find the data. This happens before lock camera, so it's going to be in this 1810 data segment. So I'm going to open a new tab for that. And open the US version of this as well to see what our data looks like. So we want to find something with 02, 04, 01, 04. So this is where our data starts. So adding a segment for that, and then I need to make sure that I get where it ends as well. It might end at the end of the file, but we don't know yet, so it doesn't look like it does. So we're going to end, go back up to there. We want some 30s at the end here. So it looks like it's going to end at 1C288. The other thing that we may or may not have to deal with is that there is BSS data here that we don't know what this is yet, that we don't know where it is quite yet. And so I'm going to put just a question mark here. So there's data that's coming from, with Splat for the PSP, because BSS data isn't actually copied into the final object, we can be a little fast and loose here, but it's nice to at least have the documentation of where this was. I'm not terribly worried about it, and I'm not gonna stress over it. I am just going to look at the data and see if we can pull in the file as is. And I think everything will go into the right place, but I've been wrong before. So we're going to change all the _PSPs to just look in the directory for the PlayStation. Update this to a .data and see if this works out. It did not. Because I did this earlier today too. It needs to be RBOO. Okay, undefined reference. So we have the same issue where we need to update the symbol name. And then find the init. And so that's going to be the A0 register right before initialize entity. Did I not save? Maybe I didn't save. I find reference to init breakable, but we have a symbol. That's the wrong symbol, the wrong assembly file. Let's look in the right directory. Okay, so this didn't match, may or may not be related to the BSS. Let's run a diff stage quickly and see. There might be some additional data there. Might require some additional debugging. Yeah, I think I'll come back to debug this later. So we got some additional symbols, which is nice, but we don't. Unfortunately, it's not going to map cleanly. So I'm going to undo those splat config changes. And then I did change the name of that function and get rid of the unknown. Okay, so that's building fine. So we'll leave it there, and then we'll get back to decompiling the stuff that we were working on earlier. And I did work on this a little bit yesterday. The PlayStation 1 version is at 95%. PSP is at 91%. So we're definitely getting closer, and a lot of it's coming down to just small things. So I'm going to start down here around 280. So we have it's going to be about a 600 or so line, 650 line function when we're done. But now I'm getting down into the minutia and looking at mostly instructions at the moment. Are there instructions missing? Not looking for things like this where moves into different registers are happening in odd ways. Once we get all the instructions fixed, then we'll go through and fix variables, and then we can see if there's smaller changes that need to be made. So just scrolling through and looking for anything that's relatively large in terms of the differences. I'm not seeing anything really. So the first one here, there's some masking that isn't being done. There's a unsigned 16-bit value being loaded instead of what we have as assigned. So 459 will go down there. some of the changes that I made since yesterday. A lot of the pose timer and poses were swapped, and so I had to switch those to the correct order. Fixed up all of the go-tos. That's all resolved. So it looks like I made this a signed 16, but it looks like it is a unsigned 16. And I don't have it here. So that gets us the correct load. It's being stored into a 32-bit variable, it looks like, S4. Before being assigned here. So let's see if S4 is being used anywhere else. Look around 313. It's just implicit. And it's possible that this is implicit as well, but it does look like this is getting converted to 32 bits and then back to 16 bits. 155, there's actually something to look into. I don't see anything. I do have a roll value, so it's not being reused though. This was around 459. I don't see anything else. So let's try to cast it as a signed 32. And that does give the right instructions, but with the wrong register. It does look like it's going into a variable register. Do we have any other uses of this? So we're calling this item, or I should say, it is being called item. Hey Dizik, good to have you. So I'm going to add a new bar. I'll call it item ID. And so that does give the right instructions, and it's going into a variable register, which I like. So I'm going to keep it like that. I did notice while we were scrolling around the stuff on 150 or 115. Yeah, up here. Let's go up here and see what's going on there. So it looks like possibly this assignment is happening and then being negated. that happens in several other places as well, so I'm surprised to only see it there. I guess I don't have to do a multiplication, I can just say negative. Right, works the same. Alright, let's get back down there. One more thing before I keep going. Adding that variable introduced some additional stack space. So if it is its variable, it needs to be reused for something else. I guess I can reuse this temp S2. That S4 register basically is used nowhere. So I'm not sure exactly what might be going on there. There is a bunch of mess down here though too. I assume that this was a minus equals velocity divided by 32. Let's go look at the decomp for that. Usually when there's a shift and some other funny business, that's what I assume is going on. So this top part looks as expected. Move entity. Yeah, so here's the shift. We're taking velocity, shifting by 5, which should be the same as divided by 32, and then doing a minus equals with that value. I can change it to a shift. Sometimes those do generate different instructions. There is, yeah, usually there's a condition and a possible subtraction. So it does look like it is just a shift, which is just a cheaper way of doing it. No, I thought I got rid of all these, but there's no explicit check against 0. 552, it looks like there's some out of order instructions. 565, same thing here. Shift by 5. And same thing with the check against 0. 570 looks like that again. Hey, we got up to 90%. Looks like out of order on 582. So our assignment is just one lower. 622. So this looks like this expression is getting broken up. 567, there is something missing. Says Disick. I think it's okay. So now we got to be somewhat careful. We're taking one of these references. Which reference are we taking? I'm going to guess the outer one? Maybe it's the inner. And we're assigning it first to S3, and we could see if we have S3 used elsewhere. My guess is that this is another case where this is doesn't have a strong affinity to a particular variable. 321 maybe? No. On the shorter functions, you get a pretty high likelihood of it being exactly one variable, but once you get into a longer function, that starts to go away. So let's see what, first, what is this type? I have it as a C vector. Oh, and we do have a C vector pointer already. So let's set this equal. And that should hopefully give us the first part of this. And then we're going to use that. We can, instead of doing it this way, we can do a plus or a plus equals. And we may get what we want. So we are getting a shift which we don't want, which is coming from the read from 718. So originally I assumed that this was sign 32, but it looks like maybe not. So it is an unsigned byte, so we have that instruction there. Then going back down, how close are we and where are we? So it looks like all of this is correct so far. Not worried about the moves at the moment. Except that we're adding 1 to this value. And it looks like this Temp1 ends up being a pointer to just unsigned 8s, I think is what this is suggesting, and then we're multiplying this by 4. And these are probably, I'm guessing, by unsigned 8, I mean signed 8, of course. So nothing. My guess is that this is one of these where we're doing like a star plus plus to get each of the things. And so we don't have a struct here anymore. This is my guess. We'll see how it works. I have to change the type of this. So even though they are 4 byte values, I don't think that's what's happening. So we're missing a move here. But the rest of this looks fine now. And just a little bit more here with the tile map. I'm going to look at what M2C was doing. So we have our calculation for distance x, and then some checks with G tile map, but it seems like there's a additional read that we're missing. Around 6:35. Oh, this happened earlier too. Yes, and I know exactly what's happening. For whatever reason, and I shouldn't say for whatever reason, so this gets optimized out, and it might cause other effects which are hard to see, but we're actually calculating distance y as well, and then that variable is never being used, so the PlayStation version optimizes that out. So we have too many variables. Most of the instructions look fine. I'm going to check this over on the PS1. And I need to fix these. I'm going to... It's unsigned 8, and this is signed 8. And we're going to go with unsigned 16 for this one. So 97, that's the best yet. And where do we see differences? So line 50, this has to do with the switch. So there's a bunch of funny things here. So there could be a case 4. We might not have one. And it could be that case 4 is just a break. Nope, case 4 is there. Not sure why we're getting the load there, but hopefully we'll figure that out eventually. $74. Looks like it's optimizing a read that the original isn't. We're jumping to a very different place. These might be returns. Let's look at where... COC versus 12, D8 and ER. So COC's at 392. I see. It's the optimizer chose that to deduplicate that code. So maybe that increment isn't there. So on the PSP, we know that we have too many variables. And maybe a few other things. So let's go variable hunting. I'll look for S5 first. There's nothing here. We don't control this variable. So it's been given distance y. And distance x is S1, and that we have that correct. S4 we were having some problems with earlier. It shows up in ephemeral use cases like this. We don't control. $313, again, not controlled. So that was a case where velocity was set to positive on one side and negative on the other instead of doing the negation. Here we have it again. 459. So right now I have this as item ID. My guess is that this will be used for something else as well. 619. It's, yeah, just ephemeral. So I'll put item ID for now. S3. S3 looks like RS2. Looks like it's this temp V1. S2. Here it's been given self, but that again is not controlled. We got up here RS5 on 539. It's this temp S2. Yeah, item ID may be fake. I agree. S1 I think we had already. S0. S0 looks like entity, and that is RS0 as well. So what we don't have is roll or facing left. Both of those I introduced because it looked like I needed something there as well. So let's look at 190 and see what gets used there. It looks like S2 gets used here, so I'm going to take S2. And use that for facing left. Okay, and then roll. 454. that gets assigned to S2 as well. Okay, so let's see if our stack is correct. Stack looks good. Ordering on the stack might be wrong. And we're still getting some moves in the wrong ways. So we know what the order is here. Let's try to... The distance X and Y are odd. Normally, I would assume that these are in reverse order, but it doesn't seem to necessarily be the case. The other thing I want to look for is greater than equals. That's so dumb. MetroWorks, you're so dumb. So, watch it again, 94%. Change greater or equal to 2 to greater than 1, and it jumps to 97%. That one didn't go as far, unfortunately. Those are the only 2 greater or equals. Let's see if we have any less than equals. Nope, none of those. So still a few things. Move here. Some register issues. So I could start fretting about variable ordering. Let's see how this looks. I'm guessing the PlayStation is going to match with this. It doesn't. So it might be something a little more significant. And it looks like a lot of the same things. So for example, and I probably, because of all the noise on the PSP, I'm probably like skipping over issues like this. So let's look at 94 on the PSP and see what the instructions look like there. It's possible that this is a fall through and not a break or something like that, and I just missed it because of all the other noise. Actually, we have 152 has a bunch of issues. No, our jump looks correct. Let's go down to 152 and see what's going on there. Oh, so I assume that this was a if-else, but it looks like it's not. It's setting the step unconditionally and then going to check the distance. I want to look at what set step does. So it's pretty lightweight, so there's not a lot of issue calling it twice. Unnecessary, but not super expensive. So we do have some branches that are going to the wrong place. Let's look at that. 202. So these originally were nested, and that might be enough. But it also might be an else if down here. No, that's still not quite right. Let's try an LSIF. So that's correct. So I need to be a little more careful about looking at immediate differences that are constants. There is some register differences up here, 268, but I don't control that. I'm not gonna. The linter will come through and replace all the fixeds. 284. I was thinking this could be an assignment to a variable, but it doesn't look like it. Seems like somewhere there's a branch or something else that's... Here we go. $541. Let's see what... It's 547. Sorry, 547 is the one that is breaking incorrectly. So if we're not 1, 2, or 3, we're going to 1 CEC, which may be a return. That's the problem. Still not quite right. It's better. Register issues. Oh, these are buttons. No worries about that. Registers. Okay. So that may have fixed the logic. Let's check it on the PlayStation. The PlayStation is happy. A82AV29. We're decompiling part of the Grant Ralph Sifa boss fight in Castlevania Symphony of the Night. So 47. Still have an assignment to a register that's not necessary. Tile map ordering on 111. I would think here if distance y was being calculated, we'd see that on the PSP pretty quickly. Let's go to 112 and see. So I have the PlayStation version and the PSP version, and we're going back and forth. They were compiled by different compilers with different settings. And we can go through and see the differences between them to try to determine what may or may not be going on. Okay, so there is an assignment to the distance x variable first. And then a minus equals, it looks like. And so this number at the top, I want to try to get to as close to 100% as possible, and the number next to it, I want to get as close to 0 as possible. Yeah, the mobile version and the PS4 version are both the same as the PSP version. What is better, the PSP or PS1? No comment. People have strong opinions, and the best version is the one that you play. Okay, so here's some interesting ordering differences. Let's go down and look at that. So when the Switch is being constructed, if the cases in the Switch are not packed basically consecutively, in this case, MetroWorks isn't going to create a jump table. It's going to just write a big if-else statement and check all the conditions. And it's checking condition 19 before 20, and in ours, it's checking condition 20 before 19. And I think those might go to the same place, and so we maybe just reorder them, and they go to the right order, and the same thing with case 17 and case 18. So weird, but true. Like, how would you write that where that would make sense? I guess, again, these could be enum values. Okay, going through again and seeing if there's anything else obvious. And here is one of them. There are not two arguments to set step. There's only one. 135, there's not two arguments to set step, only one. Let's find that. We'll do a regular expression. Let's see. Of course, I got them all now. That helped quite a bit, actually. Is that what's going to get us the rest of the way? What may be left is really just figuring out the right order of the declarations of the variables. Because, yeah, PS1 is looking really good. $142. So this almost looks like it's being read into a variable. Let's check that on 142. Oh, it's duh. This is dumb of me. This is player status. And this is a struct, not a pointer. Okay, that's looking much better. Same thing here on 152. Let's just get all of those. Oh, we have a symbol for that. $120. That's looking pretty sharp. Looks like my math was wrong on 395. Not 16 away. How far then? 32 away? 32 away. I've made that mistake several places. I think we are close. I think I've made that mistake one more place. Yeah, there we go, 575. That might be it. Okay, let's take that back. No, not really any better on the PSP though. So yeah, like I said, it may be related to the ordering of these variables. That is one of my least favorite things to debug. That helped one of them. Uh, 35. I don't think it's scary necessarily. So something is causing S2 to not get the right register up here. What else could be going on? Let's look at everything else and see if there's any other hints throughout 159. So we see registers being chosen like S3, but again, it's just in the context of this entire condition, and so you need to use registers to do the work, and which ones that get chosen by the compiler are not really our concern. But we want to be able to control it as much as we can, and we just can't always control it. So, unfortunately, I don't have a good solution to this. Let's check it on 218. Can I get something on 218? Possibly an assignment to S2 from this function. Let's try that and see if that does anything. We haven't done anything with that function. Oh, that helped. So we don't know what it is yet. That variable isn't used And so the PlayStation didn't care. A bunch of broken registers there too. So, I mean, that's mostly what we have left is, and not registers that we can really control. Let's look at 475, set sub-step. So this is loading. This also does not take 2 args. But for some reason, the compiler is deciding to load things into A1 first and then move them into A0. And it doesn't seem very sensical. I don't know if I'm going to do a quick search to see if when animate entity is checked. Usually animate entity return value isn't checked, but when it is, what use the right options. It is a not. Here it's an equals. And that is specifically for the PSP. So I don't know if there's anything really to learn from that. 485, an assignment to S2. But again, I think it's ephemeral. So what this usually means is there's either a comparison that I'm doing incorrectly. I did check, so the greater or equals and less than equals, those are usually the biggest offenders. Sometimes it can have to do with function signatures, and we can look at this to see if there is, might there be any functions that would be visible that we should know of beforehand. And yeah, there could be in that one case where I just updated it to do the assignment. Let me jump back there. We may need to figure out what that function's arguments are. Oops. Searching for a... So this, yeah, this would be in here. And it could be static in there too. Boss, RBO. So we don't have any args, and what are we putting into V0? So we could put a function signature here. It looks like we're going to be returning an int. and taking no args, and that might be enough. Let's grab that function. We call it sign32, and I'll specifically mark it as void. And I don't think that helped at all. Yeah, so my time is up. I gotta move on to other things today. But it looks like we do have the PlayStation version working. Let's see if we can compile it with the rest of everything else, and we'll call it a day. And it worked. So, yeah, this will work for the PlayStation, but obviously something is still off. And we'll have to figure out what that is, and then we can hopefully move on. So, what have we been doing? We've been watching Made Up of Wires. We're decompiling Castlevania Symphony of the Night. I'll see y'all tomorrow. Adios.